Back in 2012, DEA agents did a raid at one home that belonged to students of UC San Diego. Now, one of the individuals in the home at the time who happened to smoke marijuana was Daniel Chong. He is a UC San Diego student, and apparently once they found him in the home during the raid, they decided to take him to a holding cell for interrogation. Now, they didn't interrogate him, but they kept him in that holding cell for 5 days with no food, no water, and they essentially forgot about him. Oh. So this case has taken a very, very long time to get any type of justice on, and that's no surprise considering a lot of the police brutality stories we've talked about on the show. But now that the DEA has decided to pass down some punishment to the agents that took part in these actions, we know exactly what they're going to have to deal with, and unfortunately the update is very disturbing. So in a Friday letter to Senator Chuck Grassley, who's been very upset about this instance, the Justice Department revealed that of the 6 DEA agents involved in the near-fatal incident, 4 received letters of reprimand, and 2 others were given week-long suspensions without pay. So the week-long suspensions without pay are the 2 harshest, punishments that were given.
Almost as long as he was locked up without food and water.
This is very close, actually.
Yeah, same amount of time.
There is no justice in this country. I mean, DEA agents can put you in a holding cell and forget about you until you nearly die, and they face, what the hell is a letter of reprimand? You almost killed someone, and you're getting a letter of reprimand? Okay, Chong was left handcuffed in a windowless holding cell by himself for 5 days without food, water, or a toilet while agents ignored his cries for help. When an agent finally opened the door to Chong's cell, Chong was delirious and so dehydrated that he had resorted to drinking his own urine. Chong was hospitalized for 4 days following his release and had to undergo extensive therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, the government later settled this case for $4.1 million. He got a $4.1 million settlement. By the way, the government settled this. Who do you think paid for that?
Taxpayers.
We paid for that.
So, yeah, exactly.
So we actually faced a harsher punishment for the DEA's actions than the actual DEA agents that did this.
That's a good point. I mean, look, 5 days, that's on the borderline, depending on temperature and what state he was in when he was put in the cell, that you could potentially die from dehydration during that period of time. And the fact that he still has PTSD, he went effectively crazy during that time, thinking, can you imagine being in a windowless cell
for 5 days?
For 5 hours. I'd lose my mind. For 5 days, he thought he was going to die because he had the audacity to smoke pot.
So
somewhere.
This is the same DEA that just, there was a congressional hearing about the lack of discipline given to them because they were having hooker parties. So these are people who are supposed to be protecting people from human trafficking.
Yes.
And here they are, human trafficking.
No, but here's the amazing thing about the prostitute parties that they were having in Colombia. The prostitutes were funded by drug cartels. So this is the big bad DEA that's really concerned about keeping Americans safe from the harms of drugs, right? And then at the same time, they're going to Colombia and they're getting it in with cartel-funded prostitutes.
Yeah.
So I've said it before that with all law enforcement, they're just a half turn of the screw away from being criminals themselves, if not already. And I would say that almost everybody who works for the DEA is a criminal, and they don't care about the law. Right? If you don't join the DEA because you care about the law. You join the DEA because you get a kick out of it, because you want this impunity from prosecution for trampling on people's rights, because you want to put a stun grenade in someone's house. You get a kick out of going in their house at 4 in the morning with guns. That's what this is. And it's hyperbole when I say all of them are, but their culture inside the DEA, which was revealed in that congressional hearing, is criminal, all right? They're criminals and they don't care. They're doing the exact thing they're putting other people in jail for. And there's no repercussions and there's no accountability. There's no integrity. And these cops they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about your safety. They care about getting off by being a cowboy. And that's what this is. And that's what the drug war did. The drug war ramped up. We lost our rights. And it just paved the way for even more rights to be lost after 9/11. I wish we could get rid of the DEA. I don't give a shit if someone wants to do drugs.
I 100% agree with you on the DEA. I don't think that they should exist, which is why the DEA pushes back against marijuana legalization so aggressively. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they get to do these raids. That's the reason why the majority of them are employed. And it's very ironic to me that our drug policies are supposed to be there to keep us safe, when in reality, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives have been destroyed because of these policies. Either they've been incarcerated for nonviolent drug offenses, or they've died in raids that shouldn't have occurred in the first place.
Yeah.
So stories like this drive me crazy because it shows you that these agents never have to face any consequences, even if they bring someone to the brink of death.
People don't believe we're living in a police state. Well, this is the kind of stuff that when I was a little kid, I would hear these stories about stuff that happened in Russia and East Germany.
North Korea.
And you got to watch out for it. And then this stuff is happening right here in the United States every day. And it's not isolated. This is, again, the culture of the DEA. They're all having hooker parties. They don't care. And by the way, this guy he wasn't like when you say they forgot about him, they intentionally ignored his cries for help.
Yes.
So it wasn't like if you go, oh my God, we forgot we locked that guy up. That actually is one thing. That's mass incompetence. But it was worse than that. They ignored his cries. So they knew he was in there and didn't give a shit. Yeah.